What is up, and welcome back to the channel. We are your Colorado real estate family. All right, cool. So if you're planning on moving into Colorado, you're definitely going to want to watch this video because we're going to go over how you need to be competitive in this market. Let's start it right now.
All right, let's go. So guys, I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but I'm not Chelsea, so I don't know the whole subscribe bell.
It's usually her part. So I'm gonna try and do this a little bit. So Pete, Sweeney, and Alana here. She's a part of our real estate family here on the channel. So we like getting her on here. If you can do us a quick favor, we put out 2 videos a week. Hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell. That way you're notified every single time that we put out one of those 2 videos. Also, we like to be your boots on the ground experts because if you're planning on moving into Colorado, guess what? We give you all that information you need to know. We're talking about house prices. We're talking about activities. All the great things that you need to know. Also, licensed real estate agent here and over here as well too. So if you could do us a quick favor, call that phone number right below, give us a call or a text. We're going to answer your call and help you out any way that we can. All right, so this video is going to be super special because not only are we going to talk to you about how to be competitive in the Colorado market from the real estate side of things, we're also going to talk to you from a buyer side of things as well too, because Alana actually just went under contract on a property, doing a great job doing that, doing the things she does, right? And so there are certain things to look at on the real estate side, but when you're actually in it as a buyer, there's stuff that we don't see, so it's great kind of bringing that perspective in, and so we can bring to you as professionals and also as the consumer. I think the most concerning thing that we need to talk about is you need to be prepared to put in multiple offers.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're in this market where it's a seller's market, right? You can be really well prepared as a buyer and still get set up to submit multiple offers because you're competing with cash offers sometimes, and I think you just kind of have to trust the process. So you got to be prepared to submitting, and I'm in a unique position because I'm a real estate agent, right?
Yeah.
But I was a buyer for the last couple of months, and I'm so thankful I landed in Loveland, but it took a couple of times before I was able to land here. I put in 2 offers, and finally the third one stuck. And what's amazing about it is I didn't have to do the whole super above asking price and all of this stuff. So it was an interesting way that things worked out. But the main point here is you just have to be resilient, and you gotta just persist and just be prepared. Don't get emotionally invested in like that first house that you see and fall in love with, because chances are you're gonna have to take a couple of offer opportunities before you get under contract.
Hello, how are you?
And so something that I've been seeing recently, I do think the market is softening a little bit just because in my email inbox, I get a lot of agents who are reaching out saying, hey, our property didn't sell over this weekend. Do you have a buyer that's possibly interested in this property? I don't know if you're seeing the same thing as well too.
I am. There's a little bit of a shift. Everybody's been talking about this shift.
Yeah.
And while we're still seeing some situations where there's multiple offers and all of that, there is a little bit of an opportunity to get into homes and not necessarily be competing with a bunch of other people.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, biggest things to look at when you have multiple offers is there's most likely going to be those cash offers. And a big thing that we're seeing too is coming from like these corporations. You know, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, there are still some sellers out there who are like, hey, I'd rather this go to a great family or a great person instead of just selling to the corporation. So that price point isn't always the most important thing when dealing with multiple offers.
Exactly. And then the other thing too, what's really cool is I was able to get under contract with a VA loan.
Yeah.
And the seller in particular was really excited to take my loan because he knew that I was I've served my country and all of that. And so you'll have certain situations where sellers will prefer certain things over another. So you don't necessarily need to be like the highest and best or have that super high escalation clause or anything like that. But the main key is get out there, see as many houses as you can, put in on the ones that you like, not necessarily getting super invested in it, but just know that you have the opportunity to get under contract even if you aren't necessarily the best offer.
And that really segues nice into our number 2 reason why how you need to be competitive in the market is make sure you have your deal breakers, because if you are submitting multiple offers at the same time, there's got to be certain things that you got to hold strong, and it's like, hey, listen, guess what? If this and this and this and this whole list of things happens, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bend over backwards to make sure this happens.
Well, and I hate to disagree with you on that a little bit.
Oh, she's disagreeing.
You just lost to your own game. You're outgunned and outmanned. Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
But I'm just saying, if you kind of have to refine your search a little bit.
Yep.
When I started out on my home search, I had all of these ideas. I wanted a walk-in closet. I wanted to make sure, the kitchen had an island and all of these different things.
Yep.
And when it really came down to it, the house I landed on that I am so in love with don't have those two things.
Yeah.
So make sure to reiterate what he said. You have to make sure you have your deal breakers, but understand, are they truly deal breakers? And I think that's part of the process of getting under contract and maybe failing or seeing a lot of houses. It'll really refine that search for you.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's so important to sit down with someone who's not just out to get a commission check, right? When you work with a realtor like me or her, look, we just had a disagreement over something, but I think also we're also getting the same point. There are certain things that you need to look at to make sure, okay, this it is what it is. I could deal with that. I could deal with this, but there might be some deal breakers. Like I know some guys will not buy a house without a garage.
Come on, guys.
Right? So it's like, but just make sure that they are actual deal breakers and they're not just aesthetic things. It's like, I'd like to have this, So that's great that we kind of had this little back and forth.
But the other thing is too, if you think you have a deal breaker, but then you're like, well, maybe I should ease up on that, and then you end up getting cold feet. That's not good either.
No.
So this market, things are really rushed and kind of crazy, but you got to really think through all of those things and work with your real estate agent on figuring out what those things are for you that really have to be in your home.
And that actually brings us into our number 3, which we kind of hit on a little bit, but you need to trust the process. There's so many times that I've dealt with buyers, I'm sure you've dealt with buyers, they get super discouraged. Like, oh man, I lost on that one, I love that one, lost on this one, I love it. The one thing that I always tell my buyers is the right one will come, and when you finally decide to close, or when we do close on that, you will be happy that's the one you closed on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times that's come up.
Yep.
Is, oh, that didn't work, but the what is supposed to work will actually work out for you. But it's so true, and I just went through it myself, so I can tell you firsthand. One of the first houses that I wrote an offer on was off of Lake Loveland, and I fell in love with this house. So much so that I put everything I had into putting this offer in, and when I lost out, I literally cried. It was the most terrible feeling ever. But now that I have the house that I landed in, I am so thankful it actually worked out this way. So you totally have to just trust the process and know what's supposed to be will end up being.
Yep, I think we were there that day that she lost on the property. Might have had a few margs, maybe a little bit more than a few, but something to ease the pain a little bit.
Totally, yep.
And the number 4 way that you need to be competitive in this market is you need to set your search criteria.
Absolutely.
Criteria. I said it too fast.
You got it. Enunciate.
Enunciate. Yeah.
This one is a really big one. If you set your criteria, or you talk to your real estate agent and say, hey, I am approved for up to $500,000, and we set your search criteria up to $500,000, you're likely going to fall in love with the house in that $490,000 to $500,000 range that's landing in your inbox. But does that mean that you're ready to submit an offer at above asking? Because that's kind of what's going on in this market.
Yep.
Probably not. So maybe let's think about lowering that search criteria down a little bit so you don't get some false expectations about the house that you can end up in, and then you give yourself a little bit more opportunity to be more competitive when you do submit your offer.
And so just quick reiteration here, we're in May of 2022, so if you're watching this movie in 2023, or this video, I guess, not movie. Now I'm a film actor, I guess. If you're watching this in 2023, this might be 100% different, but right now we're in May in 2022, and this is what we're really looking at in regards to being that super competitive in the market.
Yeah, and we still might experience, like we were talking earlier about a shift. I mean, things can change on the daily. There's literally things that change on the federal level that can impact home sales, and just a bunch of random things that can impact this. But as of right now, in May 2022, you gotta be prepared to escalate your offer over asking price to be competitive.
Yeah, and so I actually was talking with a lender today because we just got under contract on one of my clients, and he's shopping around a little bit. He says that the rate already changed 3 times today. What is it, 2 o'clock? Stuff changes, right? And we need to make sure that we're open to that. So
absolutely.
And the number 5 way that you need to be competitive in this market, and this one is huge, is you need to have a competitive agent.
A very experienced agent, somebody that knows your local market, somebody that's been putting in offers for buyers, and also somebody that has relationships with real estate agents as well in the area. One thing that really helped me to get under contract here in Loveland is I went to an open house. I met with the listing agent. I actually knew her. I was super excited to have this conversation and tell her, hey, guess what? I'm actually looking to purchase for myself. We were able to build that rapport, and that's so important for buyers, whether you're purchasing in Loveland or down in Denver offer, if
Yep.
you have a local real estate agent that's experienced with those things, you can trust that they know the process, they know what's going on locally, and most likely have relationships with other agents, and that just kind of boosts your offer up just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I believe that this is the most important one out of all these reasons that we're talking about, because if you have an agent, and like I said, I don't like to dog on anyone or anything like that, that just in this part-time, they don't know what it takes. I mean, if they're working a job outside of that, what if you got to get a response, or if you have to do these things outside of that job and you can't do it because you're working another part-time job? So it's super important that you have someone who's experienced in the market but also is in this full-time. And I know, like Alana, she's great at the whole, reaching out to the agent, building that rapport, and just really kind of get in with them, because that agent seriously is the number one person that the seller's going to listen to in regards to selling the house. It's not always about numbers.
Yeah, and you create kind of a reputation, honestly. And when you become somebody that is very approachable, easy to communicate with, just friendly in general, that goes so far. And there's other offers that might look higher and might look better, but if you're looking at an offer from someone that you've worked with before and you know their communication style, you like hanging out with them even, I mean, those offers will win. Yep,
I agree, 100%. All right, cool, guys. Well, I'm so glad that we could bring this video today. Like I said, we couldn't have Chelsea, but we had the next best thing, Elaine, over here, and like I said, she's amazing on what she does. So if you're looking at purchasing Colorado, we're going to throw that phone number in below again right there. Give us a ring. We're more than happy to help you out through this process. Be competitive in the market, because Colorado is hot right now. And until next time, we love you. Bye.
See you out there.
Oops, too much. There we go.
You can take me totally out of there.
You're just going to be in the background. Video, you were notified right off the bat. Why is this guy talking to me?
Sweet. No, that was great.
Yeah, exactly. And so one thing that we've been seeing too, and like me recently, I don't know if you experienced it as much, that you need settle again, how to be competitive.
Deal breakers, or like refining your search. You can be a really well you can be really well prepared. Okay. Did I just totally blow that next one? Because
and the number 4
Yep, number 4.
Yep.